Okay, let's look at this quadratic formula. The first part on your paper says, explain what you know about the quadratic formula. Okay, well, wait, that's on solving. You said you start with the discriminant. Right. Well, let's back up a second. What does the quadratic formula do? What are we finding? The solutions, which are what? The x-intercepts. So I'm finding, so this helps me find the x-intercepts. Now, when you're trying to solve it, you first need to find the discriminant. What is the discriminant? Underneath the square root sign, which is b squared minus 4ac. I mean, you have to find that first. But before you can do any of that, describe what form the quadratic equation must be in before you can use the quadratic formula. It has to be in standard form. And standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. All right, so what the main thing we need to do is have practice on solving the quadratic equations. What are my steps? So let's look at number one. Number one, is it already, the first thing we have to make sure of is standard form. It is already in standard form. And so it doesn't, yeah, because it doesn't matter which side the zero's on. But step two now is I need to find a, b, and c. A is the number in front of x squared, which is what? 1. B is the number in front of x, -8. C is the number by itself, 10. All right, let me write the formula over here, but you should have that down on your paper. I think you guys do, right? Okay, so now after we find A, B, and C, step 3 is to put my numbers in for A, B, and C. All right. It says negative B. So I have negative, and in parentheses I will put B. Is it always going to be a negative B? It's going to be a negative in front of it. So basically what that negative does means if your B, see how the B is -8? It changes it to positive. If your B was positive, it changes it to negative. Okay, so now, no, with what you're saying, just wait for the next one. I'll show you, okay? So let me plug in here -8 plus or minus the square root. It says b squared, so make sure you put that b in parentheses. I keep telling people, and they're forgetting, and they're not doing it in the calculator. Minus 4 times a is 1, times c is 10. All over 2 times A is 1. Okay, I didn't do any math. All I did was take my numbers and put them in for my letters. Now we're going to go, and you have to find the discriminant. Oh, darn it. All right, so here's my discriminant right here. So step 4 is my discriminant. Let me highlight that. It'll help with the notes. Oh, golly gee. Come on. Okay. The pen is being silly. I'm getting frustrated. All right. So what I want you to do, go into the calculator, into your home screen, not in y equals, into the home screen. We're going to put in there parentheses. -8 squared minus 4 parentheses 1. Okay. Now, when you press enter, you should get 24. If you did not, double check and make sure your screen looks like my calculator. Okay, and then if not, you can ask and find out how yours is different. Just raise your hand and Miss Dawson will be by. So now, this says a negative times a negative. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. So this changes to positive 8 plus or minus the square root. What did we find it to be? 24. So I'm going to put 24 in there, divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay? Now you have to separate it into 2 things. So I have, it's not a negative because, look what we did up here. It changed the sign of it. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I have 8 plus the square root of 24 divided by 2, and 8 minus the square root of 24 divided by 2. Be careful here. You cannot put all of it in the calculator all at one time. You have to break it up into parts. So the first thing I need to do so I'm going to go 8 plus the square root of 24, and you must press enter. You get a decimal. Then you divide it by 2. You are going to round it to 2 places after the decimal. So it becomes 6.45. So your answer is x equals 6.45. Now you go in and you do the minus 1. You do 8 minus the square root of 24. Oh, geez. Okay, it keeps doubling up here. 8 minus the square root of 24. Press enter. Then divide by 2. So it's 1.55. So, no, it's 1.55. All right, so what these are your x-intercepts. They're where they cross the x-axis. It's in between 1 and 2, crosses here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in between 6 and 7. That's what this is representing. You're finding where they cross the x-axis. All right, let's try the next one. Oh, golly gee. Actually, let's go to number 3. We're going to do the odds. All right, number 3. What do I need to do first? What's my first step? Standard form. So, now, you want to keep, it's easier if you keep your x squareds positive. So let's move the 10 to the other side. So you're going to add 10x to each side. So you get x squared plus 10x equals negative 2. Now move the negative 2 to the other side. Add 2 to each side. X squared plus 10x plus 2 equals 0. Once you get it in standard form, now you have to label A, B, and C. A is the number in front of x squared. A is 1. B is the number in front of x, 10. C is the number by itself, which is 2. Okay, after you have A, B, and C, you have to go and put it into the formula. You have to plug it in for the letters. So my formula, all right, so it says negative, and then you put in there B, which is a positive 10, plus or minus the square root So I have b squared, 10 squared minus 4 times a and times c. So a is 1, c is 2. All over 2 times a. Now, after you label them all in there, the next step is to go and find the discriminant right here, the highlighted part. So as we go to our calculator, all right, I'm going to put in there parentheses, 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. And press enter. Oh, mine did doubles again. All right. 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. You should have gotten 92. All right, so from here. Now, look here. This time, what's happening to my my front number? This says, what's a negative times a positive? A negative. So this is now negative 10 plus or minus the square root. We found it to be 92 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now we split it into 2 roots. So I'm going to have negative 10 plus the square root of 92 divided by 2. Negative 10 minus the square root of 92 divided by 2. Okay, so when I go in here, negative 10 plus the square root. Yeah, I see it. All right. Negative 10 plus the square root 92 and press enter. Okay? Now you go and you divide it by 2. It has negative 0.2. Now, does the 4 around the 0 up or down? Okay, so it's negative. So the first one is negative 0.2. X equals negative 0.2. I mean, if you wrote 0.20, that's still right, but they'll only have it as 0.2. All right, so now the next one is negative 10 minus the square root of 92, press enter, and then divided by 2. Negative 9 point, now look, 795. So it's actually going to round up. The 5 rounds it up, that 9 up, 9 rounds this up. So it's negative 0.98. Sorry, negative 9.8. Whew. X equals negative 9.8 when you round it all up. Those are your solutions. That's where they cross the x-axis. Okay, let's look at number, what are we doing, the odds? Number 5.
Like, because on number 4, it says like it's a negative.
All right, on number 5, what do we need to do first?
Bring the 7, negative 7.
Now, the thing is, I want to move my x squareds. I want to make them positive. So let me move this over to the right. Plus 4t squared. 4t squared. So I'm going to have 4t squared, which is the same as x, minus 7 equals t. You can change it to x's. Subtract t to each side. 4t squared minus t minus 7 equals 0. Now from here, do a, b, and c. A is 4, B is -1, C is -7. Okay. Let's put it in the formula. If my board will move down. All right, so the formula. Okay, so negative, and then you put B in there. -1 plus or minus the square root. B squared -1 squared plus 4 times A times C. A is 4, C is, oh, I already made a mistake. What did I do? I put +4. It should be -4. -4. There we go. All over 2 times A, which is 2 times 8. Find the discriminant underneath the square root sign. Oh, am I doing? Golly gee willikers, get my brain on here. 2 times 4. There we go. Okay, so find the discriminant. So I'm going to put in there maybe -1 squared minus 4 times 4 times -7. And I'm going to press enter. 113. Okay. So now, a negative times a negative is a positive. So I have 1 plus or minus the square root of 113 all over 8. 1 plus the square root of 113 divided by 8. And 1 minus the square root of 113 divided by 8. Double check and make sure that you put the right things in parentheses. Okay? Because you must have missed a minus sign or a negative. 1 plus the square root of 113, enter, divided by 8. 1.45. X equals 1.45. Then to do the second one, 1 minus the square root of 113, enter, divided by 8. -1.2. All right. Now, let's look at number 7. Number 7 says, it gives you the quadratic formula, and it says, write the quadratic functions given the quadratic formula with the values already substituted. Okay, so let's look at this. What it's asking me to do, oh, geez. It wants me to write it like this. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. I need to know what a, b, and c is. Now, a, let's figure out where is a in the formula. The a is right here, which is right here. So a is 2. B is this number right here, or this. So what is this number? It's not -2. Be careful. See, it says the negative of b. So it's going to be +2. And then we have c. C is that last number right here. That's that 5. Now with a, b, and c, can you write the equation? The original right here, go backwards, so it says ax squared. So I'm going to have 2x squared and then plus bx plus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Take a minute and do that now for number 9. On number 9, I need to find A, B, and C. A is like 2, down here I see my A. A, you should have gotten 2. B is this number out front. Now look, and right here in the parentheses, be careful, you should have gotten negative 16. And C is 32. Now, when you write your equation, 2x squared minus 16x plus 32 equals 0. That's what you should have gotten. That's what we were trying to get. Now, on the next part, it says, you can tell if an equation has real solutions or not by simplifying the expression under the square root sign. This expression is called the discriminant. You will learn more about the discriminant in Algebra 2. For now, just simplify the expression. If it is positive, then the equation will have solutions. If it is negative, there's no real solutions. So it says, find the expression underneath the square root sign. State if there are real solutions or not. So I said we were doing the odds, so let's go over here. This is what it's asking you to do. We're trying to find the discriminant. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is this. So put this, the discriminant, in the calculator, and let's find out what that number is. So I put in there 10 squared minus 4 times 2 times 5. And I press enter. It gives me a positive number. Okay, it would give me negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 60 over 4. If the discriminant is positive, then they have real solutions. So you just write, meaning that I can find an answer. I can find a number. Okay? If you go through, okay, why did I put 4? Because 2 times 2 is 4. Let's try number 13. Let's see if we can find one that doesn't give us real solutions. I'll explain why. Number 13, we need to set it up into the equation. So the first thing I need to do is A is 3, B, negative 8, C is positive 8. So I have the opposite of B, so negative 8, plus or minus the square root. B squared, negative 8 squared, minus 4 times A times C. Times A, what is that, 3? And times 8, all over 2 times A. Okay. Now, what it wants us to do to find out if we have real solutions or not, put the discriminant in the calculator, what I have highlighted. That's what we're putting in there. So when I go into the calculator, I put in there negative 8 squared minus 4 times 3 times 8. And I press enter. Now, it gave me a negative 32. So I have a negative times a negative is a positive. So I have 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 32 over 6. Let's do this. Let's go 8 plus the square root of negative 32 divided by 6. Try and put that in there in your calculator. So let's go in the calculator. What I'm asking you to do is do 8 plus the square root of negative 32. And when you press enter, it tells you error, no real answers. There is no real solutions. Can't spell solutions, hold on. What this means is that it does not touch the x-axis. Look, if I put this in the calculator, if I go to y equals and put in there 3x squared minus 8x plus 8, and I press graph, does it touch the x-axis? That's why there's no real solution. And some people say, well, again, why do you talk about real? Guys, here's what you're going to deal with in Algebra 2 is imaginary numbers. Imaginary is a small I, and that is represented by the square root of -1. So there is something you can do with it, but you're not going to do that till Algebra 2. Okay? So, but the whole story to this is if you get a negative for the discriminant, listen to me again, if you get a negative for the discriminant, you need to write no real solutions. Half of you are going to miss that because you're not listening. NOS, you can write NRS. NRS, you can write that as well.